I remember that at the age of 20, I went for the first time in Paris. At that time, now my grandchildren go by plane everywhere at the age of 5. But at that time, after the war, before the age of 20, it was difficult to travel. And one of the first experiences in Paris was that I bought a booklet of the Très Riches Heures. That was, in a way, my first introduction to the Middle Ages. And so it's a old love. I am in love with the Très Riches Heures since 60 years. What is important for me, my doctoral dissertation was on the aesthetics of the Middle Ages, and one of the dominating idea of Middle Ages was that one of the three qualities of beauty was claritas, brightness of color. And the Très Riches Heures are the demonstration of what color meant for the Middle Ages, because it was not the color of the Baroque, full of shadow. The color of Middle Ages was always crude and shining colors. And obviously you can find that also in miniatures of 300 or 400 years before. But if you want to demonstrate somebody what was the color, the idea of color for the Middle Age, well, you have to choose the Lymborch brothers. Is one of the most reproduced items because it looks also very modern for a general public, and so helps them maybe to have a very partial view of the Middle Age. Okay, is a very court-like Middle Ages, is an elegant Middle Ages. Middle Ages were more complex, but okay, as a summary of that. But what is important is also the realistic representation of everyday life, cultures, the way of treating with pigs, cuisine. You know that one of the great turns in the historiography was the École of Annales in France, in which instead of making history of the battles and of the great men, they started to make history of the everyday life, habits, ways of dressing, and the Très Riches Heures in the first part, in the calendar, is really helping an understanding of the material culture, of the time. But because even when the peasant is shown when working on the fields as you were dancing, okay, this is an aesthetic interpretation, but the way he works is the real one, with the real instruments of that time. So also beyond this artistic value, it has a documentary value. Because if you took it as a prayer book, is not so. Imagine the Duke of Berry using this book during the Mass. Or it was not only for prayer, it was to have an amusement from the marginalia, all the small images. So it was a singful experience. It was not praying. It was also like watching television. It was for him a way to imagine different worlds. So that you can read the Très Riches Heures by the main images, but also by the marginal images from initials, to understand, to realize a lot of other things. So you can spend a lot of time by looking at that manuscript. Let's say, for someone who is not familiar with the Middle Ages, I would say is the best way to, because it's Middle Ages, but it's also already very modern. If I give somebody who is totally alien from the Middle Ages the Mozarabic miniatures of the year 800 or 1000, it would be too different from our contemporary taste, and it would be maybe difficult for them to appreciate it. But if I give them the Très Riches Heures, probably it looks even like many movies you have seen later. Somber blue, I think, is the Last Night of Jesus, which is, it looks like a 19th century Roos, or I don't know, Odilon Redon. It's ahead of 5 centuries.